Gaming Bolt presents the evolution of graphics from the original PlayStation to the PlayStation 4. Through the years, video games have evolved steadily through hardware and system updates. When once we played as sprites roaming around a pixelated world, we now drive fancy cars, fly angry dragons, and build sky-high cities in impressive worlds that take years to develop. But how far have video games really come since the beginning? In this edition, we're going over the PlayStation era of gaming and finding what defined and continues to redefine the gaming world as graphics continually leap forward and evolve. Tekken was a fighting series like no other. It focused on fighting from a Japanese cultural perspective with amazing character models and polygon count. Launched in 1998, Tekken 3 emerged onto the PlayStation. It used some of the most advanced realistic tones seen in a fighter. Fluid movement that was not possible in 2D fighters pushed 3D gaming forward. Metal Gear Solid was the first three-dimensional Metal Gear game that launched in 1998 on the PlayStation. Its impressive stealth mechanics shine through from the original series on the 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System. Deep shadows used around a dark palette of dull army colors really moved the series graphically into a very realistic tone. 1999 brought Gran Turismo 2 to the original PlayStation. Backdrops came alive with trees and cities popping out like no other racer before it. Cars gave off reflections and lighting effects, which was really nice to see back before dynamic weather and lighting effects were possible. The PlayStation 2 was a major success and went leaps and bounds over its predecessor's power. Now working in 128-bit graphics, it was time for video games to go even further. In 2001, Metal Gear Solid 2 emerged from its success on the PlayStation 1. Character outlines were less jagged along with the stages overall. Like the original, Metal Gear Solid 2 continued with the dark-colored scenes. This was also the first time it was possible to make out some facial expressions on some of the characters, slightly. Silent Hill 3's creepy atmosphere was covered in dark, haunting depths and somewhat realistic lighting, especially with the flashlight. It made the chills rise. PlayStation 2 was such a big leap forward in graphics that it was finally possible to get scared while playing a game that was so intense. Railroads and diners and forests were crawling to life in a way we'd not been able to see in a horror game until then. 2005 saw Rise of the Shadow of the Colossus on PlayStation 2, a game based in an open-world environment that was very big. Nothing was on a small scale in this game, including the towers, mountains, and yes, even the colossuses themselves. Colossuses were in their way a challenge to climb and destroy. That made working on their paths of how to crawl around them very important. In 2006, an interesting game called Black came out onto the PlayStation 2. A first-person perspective brought an emphasis on the weapons and the incredible blast effects from each one. Another gritty-looking game, Black gave a standard for FPS games going forward, on how a steady frame rate and a well-crafted cover that had a pseudo-feeling of destructible environments, like blowing out windows or crumbling benches, could make a game feel so natural. PlayStation 3 and Uncharted 2 proved that Sony was a graphical powerhouse of top-notch technology. Uncharted finally showed us what water would look like in a video game with realistic waves and ripples, and waterfalls aplenty. Shadow effects fell over character faces when in and out of temples and jungles. Uncharted 2 was a massively colorful game that was surrounded by lifelike environments. Killzone 3 was at the height of the 3D craze in video games. It was designed to literally pop out of the screen when in 3D mode. Killzone 3's weapons were futuristic and the environment was extremely responsive with what ricocheted off of surfaces. When The Last of Us came out, it was a period of change for video games. It brought a heavily emotional story wrapped around two characters traveling through a lonely road. Those emotions were well portrayed through not only the voices of these characters, but their heavily rendered facial expressions, something Naughty Dog had so far accomplished extremely well. Similar to Naughty Dog, Beyond Two Souls used a form of body and facial motion capture. This allowed the characters to move fluidly over the course of the game in a more natural tone rather than designing around stick figure models over a graphics engine. Gran Turismo 6 on the PlayStation 3 brought an even more evolved form of rain effects and details well beyond the PS1 and PS2 versions. Using a graphics engine that brought out the feel of how it is to race across the world, each vehicle didn't just look like its true counterpart on the outside, but every feature was taken into detail from the inside as well, a feature not common yet in racers. PlayStation 4 emerged from its dark depths of secrecy in 2013 and gave us a taste of what gaming would look like going into this current generation. Killzone Shadowfall was a launch title that proved Sony's ambition towards massive graphics overhaul was priority. Wonderful lighting effects coupled with great character models mixed through a well-rendered futuristic environment proved very strong. Drive Club might have had a disastrous launch, but the graphics were stunning either way. With amazing dynamic weather, reflections, and the superb rain effect, Drive Club made up for its faults by being one of the best-looking racers ever created. Naughty Dog seems to be hinting about closing off the Uncharted series with The Thief's End. And what's been on display so far would be a fantastic way to cap off what PS4 is currently capable of. More motion capture for facial features and body articulation. More lush jungle environments with lighting effects glistening off of leaves, and a good amount of particle effects really show Naughty Dog are still at the top of their game. Just announced and highly anticipated, we've yet to see gameplay of Detroit Become Human on PS4. From what can be gathered, it will be using a higher fidelity of graphics over anything Quantic Dream have so far accomplished. Though the trailer doesn't give much hints, we should be seeing more of this graphics powerhouse sooner than later. Boy oh boy, we can't wait to see how graphics evolve on the PlayStation in the next few years. And if you like what we're doing, go ahead and click that subscribe button. See you soon.